starting out solitary. It's Lippy Witch, and we are on week 186, and we're talking about planning your first big ritual. What did you do? What will you do? What would you change? For me, I'm not elaborate in my rituals, never have been. I'm not elaborate really at anything. Um, um, but my first ritual is when I was living in an apartment, so I had very limited space. I had to be quiet. I did not have any sacred space, so I used the area in the dining room, which was basically my office, and planning for it, I had to plan when my kid was either out at school or asleep, and when my husband was either out or asleep, just because it would have been just impossible to do it with them there, because everything was open. there's the bedrooms, and then there's the living space. So I had to plan time wise, which was the more like energy spending of the planning, because I would have I ended up doing it at night, but it was one of those that I had to make sure I was also in the right headspace to do it, because I was working at the time, so my night owl shifts were not quite as much as they are now in being available to do so. Sorry, I have hiccups. I didn't have a lot of witchy stuff. I had, I think, like basically my witchy stuff consisted of like a few decks of cards, like tarot and oracle, a handful of crystals. I didn't use candles, and I still don't particularly use them, just because I'm a little squeamish about fire, whether I want to be or not. But also there was so much limited space, it's kind of a hazard to do it. So my ritual was very, very small. I can't even remember what crystals I used, because I had such limited. I know I used hematite and quartz. I think rose quartz, but I'm not sure what the other one was, for like the four corners, and basically cold corners. It was so long ago, I'm having a hard time remembering exactly. I definitely can't remember what I said, but other than calling corners, it was on a full moon. I do remember that. I want to say it was around Samhain as well. Might have been actually on Samhain. I'm not sure. Again, I'd have to look at the calendar, because this is almost a decade ago. I'm old. But there wasn't a lot of planning needing to going into it, just because I didn't have a lot to plan with. It was mostly time and making sure I had the space cleared to do what I wanted. I think I attempted to do meditation, but of course that probably didn't work. Yeah, I didn't. It's not an elaborate ritual, but a lot of us don't do elaborate rituals. Yeah, I can't honestly remember what my intent was for it, other than just kind of doing a ritual saying like, I'm here, I'm putting my spiritual energy into this. Yep. So it's kind of dragging on, but if you want to plan a ritual, don't stress yourself out about it. If you don't have stuff you think you need, you don't need anything in a ritual other than yourself and your finger, basically. You don't need a wand. I don't have a wand. use different things. If you don't have a chalice, you can use a wine glass. If you don't have a candle, use a lighter. Or if you don't have things, you probably have pencil and paper, and you can just draw the symbols and use those. Um, there's ways of getting around it. But yeah, I'm not a big ritual person to begin with, but that is roughly what mine was like in planning for it. It was mainly the time that was what I needed to plan for, because that was the biggest issue. For other people, it's going to be different issues popping up during planning, but that was mine. So, talk to you guys later. Bye.